Hi, I'm Val Galvin from Renditions and Rags in Chemainus on Vancouver Island in Canada. I'm going to give you a little quick tour of my studio today to just let you know what it's like to have a studio within your home, and you can see how crazy it's going to be. So my inspiration at first was to be a rug hooker, and that's because my great-great-grandmother was a rug hooker. She hooked this rug, and from that I just fell in love with the whole idea of using recycled fabrics and turning it into something functional that we can walk on for the rest of our lives, which is true in this case because this is over 100 years old. From there, I went on to collecting lots of recycled fabrics and some new fabrics and started hooking rugs with t-shirts and wool and old blankets and yarn, and I'll give you a little tour of that very soon. So here we are in the wool hallway. I found it easier when I was working the house as a studio to have all of my colors and wools come sort of in one area of the house so that when people came for a studio day they could just come and help themselves like a little store. So I have had these shelves put in so that I could have all the colors available for different people, or little bits, recycled, new, lots of buttons and just paraphernalia, embellishments, and plus not only was it fun to be able to sell this way, but when I wanted to do a project I could just come and color plan as I went. Okay, so once I got all my wool lined up and I was hooking for about 20 years, I decided that after looking at a lot of magazines and different pictures that I really liked the look of braid on my rugs, or I wanted to experiment with it. So I took a class from Loretta Zvarik from Pennsylvania, and she taught me how to braid with common sense, and I think I broke every rule that Loretta taught me, but in the meantime I have had a lot of fun bordering my rugs with braid. What I'm kind of known for is doing the combination rug where I hook and then I border it with braid. So I started experimenting with that and doing a lot of bordered hooked rugs, and then I found out that I actually really like just braided rugs, and they are so functional and they last forever, much like the hooked rugs. But you can really use up a lot of your old wool and recycled stuff that is sitting around that you might not use for hooking, because it doesn't have to be as high quality. So that's when I started just braiding rugs. COVID really threw me a curveball when it came to working in a studio within our home. We also had the blessing of a granddaughter, so with no general public coming in and the granddaughter, I had to transition into childcare as well as still keeping the feel of a studio, and of course a working studio, because I have kept on doing rugs and making things. I've tended to lean a little bit more towards just using up a lot of my stash. So I've been crocheting hats with all the leftover yarn and making penny pillows with penny rugs and just going crazy. But in the meantime, I still have had lots of commissions for braided rugs, and we'll continue to do that. And hopefully once we have all our bans lifted for COVID, I'll fill the house with little old ladies again on Tuesdays. I like to have everything I need when I'm braiding all in one area. So typically I will rip my fabrics, and I use a lot of recycled woolen skirts or blankets, all kind of the same weight. I typically tear them by eyeball. I don't measure them. They're usually about 1 3/4 to 2 inches. And I fold them in, and I'm a left opening braider. I use my clamp that I have these clamps specially made, and they have quite a wide C here. So I was finding when I gave courses in different classes, the tables were all different, and a lot of the little clamps didn't actually clamp on the table. So I had these made. They, of course, will fit on a braiding stand, but these will also fit on any table. So I use the clamp, and I just braid, and then I go over and add some new fabrics, and I go back and I braid. I am not a real fan. I like the hit and miss look of braided rugs, and so when I'm braiding a rug, I typically just pick my colors that I want to have in the rug, and then I just don't plan where the color changes are going to go. I just keep braiding, and then when I'm all done, I take it over to the table, and it's all in a big basket, and then I just lace, and when I get to my sort of pre-planned size, I taper it off, and then that's a rug. I have taken many classes on butting, and I know that there are a lot of people that love to braid rugs and have that perfect geometric kind of balanced pattern look. I am not a fan of butting, and so this is it. Enjoy. That's all I'm ever going to butt. I'm a taper girl. That's from the beginning to the end. When I color plan, I have kind of a way that I like to do this. And typically I'll take a piece of fabric that has a plaid in it, and I will try to pick out a lot of the colors that are in that because I'm using recycled fabrics. And so, for example here, so I add some gray and some blue to pull in all the colors that are in here, maybe with a little accent color. Okay, in this case, I would take this plaid, which has yellows and greens and reds, and then I'm kind of accenting with a little bit of orange or yellow, a few reds, kind of mixing it up. What I love about old-fashioned carpets is the look that they actually did go to the rag bin and pull out whatever colors they had and try to make it work. So for me, color planning is taking colors that you have, and some of them might not match that well. Now, Loretta, my old teacher, told me to always have a bright, a plain, and a textured colors in your braid, and then that would somehow balance it out. Of course, I sort of have that always in the back of my mind, Loretta watching over my shoulder telling me that. And it's always done me well to kind of follow that guide. Sometimes I get carried away depending on what fabrics I have, and I may use all textured just because that's what I have. And I think that in the end, we're just making a rug that people are going to wipe their feet on. So I'm good with whatever happens. This rug is a perfect example of how you can mix a whole bunch of colors that aren't necessarily supposed to go together. So this was a bag of a bunch of tartan skirts that my girlfriend, when she retired, gave me 2 garbage bags full of tartans. There are no plain colors, they're all textured and plaid, and in the end, I think it just looks fantastic, but that would give Loretta a headache. Lacing a rug takes patience, and for me, it takes nobody around to bug me. So I like to put this out on my big old wood oak table, and I just systematically just keep lacing and lacing and lacing. We talked before about how I don't like to do a balanced geometric design. I'm more likely to do a hit and miss with bright colors. So that way I can keep on braiding, and when it comes time to lace, I just pull out some more and keep on lacing and going round and round. I do try to figure out, this is a commission one and she wanted it in a particular size, and so I've done the formula where you figure out the middle core and then you start going round and round. Some of my loops aren't perfect. I often have tweaks. That doesn't bother me. I've got too many other things in life to stress about. Tweaks do not bother me at all. So, like Loretta says, just enjoy yourself, use your common sense, and make some really fun functional rugs that'll last forever. I like to give classes, and pre-COVID I used to fill the house up with lots of different people wanting to learn how to braid rugs. I've also done many classes on the East Coast around all the maritime provinces. If you would like to learn how to braid a rug, right now I'm not really open to the public, but if it's a nice day I'm happy to meet you out on the porch. And I do sell kits of pre-packaged a clamp and a lacer and some strips to make a small seat pad. And all you have to do is message me. I'm on Facebook, Renditions in Rags, Hooked and Braided Rugs, and I'd be happy to hear from you. Thank you so much for coming on a tour of Renditions in Rags, Hooked and Braided Rug Studio. I do have a Facebook page, and hopefully someday you'll be inspired to maybe want to hook a rug, or particularly to braid a rug. And remember, we're just walking on old fabric and saving the landfills from all these things we keep throwing away. So if you can make something functional out of some fabric, let's do it.